All right, ladies and gentlemen, we went over number 4, so I'm not going to go over too much here. That's the one we did together. So GCF LCM. I've said it before, keep saying it. Really, the biggest thing to focus on is the last word in each acronym: factor and multiple. Factor, think about factoring. We take something that's, pretty long, and we break it into its parts that multiply to get the whole. Okay? So factors means making smaller. Two things that multiply to make the whole. So when you're thinking about 45, you're thinking 1 times 45. 2 doesn't work. 3 times 15. Okay? Multiples, think 7, 14, 21, 28, 12, 24, 36, 48. Okay? Like that. Now, we kind of went over these ones pretty well in class, in all classes. This is 15. 5 is a common factor, but you got to go bigger. You got to go biggest, greatest common factor. So you do still need the GC, greatest common factor. But I think the first thing you should think is factor, smaller. Okay? Multiple, bigger. It's the least common multiple, and it's the first place that they meet. And I think this one's 84. Okay? Now, when it comes to the variables, first off, numbers are still numbers. Okay? 1, 4. 2 times 2, 18. 1 times 18. 2 times 9. 3 times 6. It's 2. The greatest common factor is 2. Okay? Numbers don't change. So 2 is out there. All right? Now, with the variables, factors, the way I remember it is factors mean smaller. So you're looking at the smallest amount, the smallest exponent, x to the 1 or x squared, x to the 1. Y squared or y to the third. Smallest one, factors mean smaller, y squared. Okay? If you want to write it out, it would be like this: x and x times x. So x, the factor is just x. X squared, it's x times x. They have one x. The greatest amount they have in common, greatest common factor, you broke it into its factors, greatest amount they have in common is 1. Okay? Think about y's. Y times y for the first one, and y times y times y for the second one. They have 2 in common, y squared. Okay, so you can write it out if you want. It gets a little more complicated writing it out down here, but this one's pretty easy. You can write it out. I just prefer to remember factors, smaller, smallest amount of each variable. Okay, numbers don't change for multiples. You got 24, 48. I'm going to need a calculator here. 24 times 3, 72. 96. 120. All right, 10, 20. That one's easy. 30, 40, 50, 60. You can tell we're making our way, but we're not going to hit any of these. It has to be with a 0, right? That's why I stopped at 120, because it's the 10, 20, 30, 40. It's got to have a 0 at the end of it. 60, 70. I know that. 80. So I could keep going, and I'm going to just to show you. But once you realize, that this is not going to hit a 0 until, bing, right there. That's where it is, 120. Okay, so it takes a little while with the 10s, but you realize you hit one with a 0 at the end. These all have 0 at the end. It's just a matter of getting up to it. All right, so 120, and then it's the opposite of factor. It's multiples, getting bigger. You're looking for the biggest amount of each variable. So x squared and x squared, biggest exponent. Y to the third, y to the fourth, y to the fourth. That's it. Writing this one out is kind of silly, because what happens is x, let's write out multiples starting with x squared, x to the third, blah, 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 blah. Okay? X squared would be x squared, x to the third, x to the fourth. They were in common It's always the bigger one. The smaller one, the x, will multiply up to meet x squared. It's always the bigger one. Same thing with y to the third and y to the fourth. Y to the third multiples will look like this. All right, let's do y to the fourth. The smaller one will meet up with y to the fourth. The smaller one will multiply up to the bigger one. So multiples means bigger. Multiply to get your numbers, biggest amount of each variable. Factors means smaller, making smaller, smallest amount of each variable. All right, I think that's the easiest way to do it rather than write it out. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. That's the last video. Have a fantastic day.